Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope everyone will be fine with the blessings of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today in this video lecture, we are going to discuss about the human brain. Which is also called as encephalon. Human brain is the widest and uppermost part of the central nervous system, and the study of brain in all aspects is called encephalogy, because it's actually a Greek word, encephalon, which means brain, and logos, which means discourse or study. So, the study of brain in all aspects is called as encephalogy. Today we are going to discuss in this topic about the human brain or encephalon. The brain is soft, whitish, and somewhat flattened, central information processing organ, which acts as command and control system. The human brain is delicate, soft, whitish, and central information processing organ which acts as command and control system of the control system. As it is the main coordination center of the body, it controls all the functions of the body. Just we can give the example that the human brain is the human brain which controls our voluntary movements, homeostasis, it controls the balance in our body, it controls all the involuntary organs like lungs, heart, kidneys, etc. It also controls thermoregulation, the circadian rhythms. It also contains the main processing sites which are responsible for vision, which are responsible for speech, which are responsible for emotions, memory, etc. That's why it is called as the command and control system. Command and control system. So, the human brain is located inside the cranial cavity of skull. Humans में जो brain होता है वो पाया जाता है कहाँ पे? It's located inside the cranial cavity of skull. ह्यूमंस में जो ब्रेन होता है वो हेड के क्रेनियल कैविटी के अंदर पाया जाता है. द ब्रेन इन एन एवरेज द वेट ऑफ ह्यूमन ब्रेन is 1200 grams to 1400 grams. That's 1.2 kg to 1.4 kg. But in case of newborn babies, the weight of human brain ranges from 350 grams to 400 grams. And if we will talk about the volume of brain in man is approximately about 1260 centimeter cube, and in case of female it is 1130 centimeter cube. The brain is the only thing in the whole universe which is attempting to understand itself. And human brain कहाँ पे पाया जाता है? Cranial, inside the cranial cavity of skull, and human brain contains, it has about 100 billion number of neurons, or we can say now cells. This is the human brain which is located inside the cranial cavity and has 100 billion number of now cells. The human brain as well as spinal cord, which together constitutes a central nervous system of our body, are covered by three protective membranes. The human brain is covered by three protective membranes called meninges. How we will understand these protective coverings? Let me draw the diagram of human brain. Just this is the head. For example, this is the hair on the upper part of the head. Just below the hair we have the layer of skin. इस skin के नीचे और एक layer होती है which is called as periosteum, and below this periosteum we have the bone of skull. And below this bone, there are three protective membranes which are called as meninges. The three protective membranes are, the first one which is just below the bone is called as dura mater. While is the thin is the tough outer membrane which is called as dura mater. Just below the dura mater we have another thin membrane which is called as arachnoid. And then third protective membrane which is interior of the arachnoid is called as pia mater, which remains in contact with brain tissues. All the three protective membranes together constitute meninges. These are the protective membranes which protect brain from mechanical shocks and provide lubrication. These three protective membranes which covers the brain as well as spinal cord remains filled with a fluid called as cerebrospinal fluid. Now, the question arises here, what is this cerebrospinal fluid? The cerebrospinal fluid is an extracellular leaf type fluid which is secreted by choroid plexus. Which is secreted by choroid plexus. What is this choroid plexus? It is actually choroid plexus of pyometer. This choroid plexus is a loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue which contains epithelial lining and glandular structures which secretes this cerebrospinal fluid. This cerebrospinal fluid is alkaline fluid and its function is to protect the brain from mechanical shocks and also provide moisture to the brain. Lubrication का काम वहां पे देता है. And one more important function जो है cerebrospinal fluid की होती है हमारे ब्रेन में, that is it provides a medium. It provides a medium. This cerebrospinal fluid, one is its function that it provides a medium for the transport of food material, gaseous material and waste material with the nerve cells. And the second one is it keeps moist brain as well as spinal cord, because it is also present in the spinal cord. It keeps moist brain in spinal cord, and also it maintains the pressure of the brain and protects the brain from mechanical shocks. Human brain is mainly divided into three parts. One is the forebrain, the second one is midbrain, and the third one is hindbrain. The forebrain is the uppermost part of the brain, which is the largest part of brain. It's also known as prosencephalon. While as the midbrain, which is a rudimentary part of human brain, which lies below the forebrain, is also known as mesencephalon. And the third one, hindbrain, which is the posterior part of brain, is also known as rhombencephalon. These are the main three parts of human brain. Diagrammatically, these three parts of human brain can be understood as, for example, this is the upper part of brain, which is present inside the cranial cavity of skull. This upper part of the brain, which is the dorsal part of brain, is called as forebrain. This forebrain is the main important part of brain, which constitutes about 80% of the brain. This forebrain has three important regions. One is the olfactory lobe. The second one is cerebral hemisphere, which is also known as cerebrum. And the third one, diencephalon. These three regions together constitutes the forebrain, which is the uppermost part of human brain. For example, this uppermost dorsal part of the brain, which is just a cap-like structure. In this way, we can understand this. This portion inside the skull constitutes our forebrain. This is the upper part of forebrain, which is called as cerebral hemisphere or cerebrum, which is the main largest part of human brain. This is also called as thinking part of the brain because it controls a large number of functions which we will learn. Now, below this cerebral, we have inside when we visit, this is only this part of the brain is visible only when we have the ventral view, and it is located inside this cerebrum, which is called as olfactory lobe. This diagram is the sectional diagram of human brain, in which we can see the cerebrum, which is the uppermost part, and inside the cerebrum there lies the two lobe club-like structures which are called as olfactory lobe, and then we have the one more part of this forebrain, that is diencephalon, just below the cerebrum. This is the cerebrum, and inside the cerebrum there is located olfactory lobe, and below the olfactory lobe there is a third region of the forebrain which is called as diencephalon. And this structure, this arc-like structure, is corpus callosum. जो हम आगे बात करेंगे कि ये क्या होता है. Then diencephalon के बाद the rudimentary part between these thalamus and hypothalamus of diencephalon, which we will discuss. This part, rudimentary part, is called as midbrain or mesencephalon. And then this midbrain has one canal which is called as cerebral aqueduct, which passes through the hindbrain. Cerebral aqueduct, which passes through the hindbrain. Here, the posterior part of the brain is hindbrain, which is comprised of these three parts. One is the pons. Second, which is just below the pons, is medulla. And the posterior, second largest part of brain, that is cerebellum. This is the hindbrain. This is the general structure of human brain, which is comprised of mainly three parts. One is the forebrain, which is the dorsal part of the brain, largest part of brain, which is itself comprised of three regions. One is the olfactory lobe, which lies interior side of the cerebrum, and the second one is cerebral hemisphere, or we can say simply cerebrum, which is the largest part of brain. And then the third region, which is the diencephalon, which lies just below the cerebrum. And above the diencephalon there is an arc-like structure which is called as corpus callosum, जिसको हम अभी डिस्कस करेंगे एक एक करके कि ये corpus callosum क्या होता है actually. What is this tract of? It is actually a tract of nerve fibers which causes the contraction of cerebral hemisphere, जिसकी वजह से cerebral hemispheres आपस में connected होते हैं. Just below the diencephalon there is the second part of the brain, that's midbrain. And midbrain के बाद यहाँ से मैंने एक cavity दिखाई है, ठीक, canal दिखाई है, which is called as cerebral aqueduct, which passes to the third part of the brain, that is Hindbrain, which comprises of three parts, mainly pons, medulla, and cerebellum. Then it remains in contact with the second part of the central nervous system, that is spinal cord. अब हम बेटा एक एक करके इन तीनों पार्ट्स की फंक्शंस को समझ लेते हैं, ठीक? तो आई होप यहां तक आपको समझ आया होगा जनरल ओवरव्यू स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ ह्यूमन ब्रेन का. Now we will discuss the first part of brain, which is forebrain, which is the upper part of brain comprising of three regions. One is the olfactory lobe. This olfactory lobe are a pair of separated two club-shaped structures which lies just interior side of the cerebrum. These structures are responsible for receiving the information regarding olfactoreceptors जो nasal chamber में present होते हैं. olfactoreceptors उनके द्वारा जो smell आती है उसको receive कौन कराता है? Olfactory lobe, which is the first region of forebrain. And this olfactory lobe ये क्या करता है? It relays these sensory smell information of smell from nasal chamber to cerebrum. Then the next part, most important part of the brain, which is called as largest part of brain, that is cerebral hemisphere. Or simply cerebrum. This cerebral hemisphere or cerebrum is the largest part of brain. It constitutes 80% of the brain. And this is also called as thinking part of the brain. It is actually a hemisphere type structures. This cerebral hemisphere is the uppermost part of brain. If we will see the dorsal view of the brain, dorsally the cerebrum will appear just like this. ऊपर वाला जो पार्ट होता है, ठीक है, ब्रेन का, वो हम अगर ऊपर से देखेंगे, इसका डॉर्सल व्यू देखेंगे, दिस cerebral hemisphere जो हमें दिखेगा, it is a folded like structure. These folds are responsible to accommodate large number of nerve cells, and these folds are called gyrus. Singular, plural is gyri. And the depressions are called sulcus or plural sulci. This cerebrum, if we will see the dorsally structure, this cerebrum part of the brain is just divided into the two halves by a cleft which is called as cerebral fissure. This cerebral fissure divides the cerebrum uppermost part of brain into the two equal parts. The whole brain is just can be divided into longitudinally. It will be divided into the two parts by this cerebral fissure. And ventrally, these two cerebral hemispheres, whether this is the right cerebral hemisphere or left cerebral hemisphere, remains in contact with the help of corpus callosum. Remains in contact with the help of corpus callosum. What is this corpus callosum? It is actually a tract of nerve fibers which ventrally makes the contact of two cerebral hemispheres. This cerebrum is mainly divided into four lobes. The cerebrum is mainly divided into four lobes, and each lobe is responsible for doing different functions. If we will make the diagram of this cerebrum, it's mainly divided into by three cerebral fissures. It is divided into four lobes, and four lobes are called the frontal lobe. Is called as, this is the frontal part of this cerebrum, which is called as frontal lobe. And what is the function of this frontal lobe? This frontal lobe is responsible for high mental activities and processing for speech. Also, it is responsible for our facial expressions. It controls our facial expressions, which is the frontal part of cerebrum. And then the middle part of cerebrum, it is called as parietal lobe. This parietal lobe has motor and sensory area. Motor area and sensory area, which is responsible for the detection of taste, touch, smell. Now the next lobe of cerebrum, that is to the posterior side, it is the occipital lobe. This occipital lobe it is responsible for the reception of vision. It's responsible for the reception of vision. Then the fourth lobe of cerebrum, which is just below these three lobes, is temporal lobe. This temporal lobe is also called as auditory lobe because its function is to receive the stimulus of hearing. It's related with the hearing. These are the four lobes of cerebrum part of the forebrain, which has different functions: the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. The frontal lobe is related to the high mental activities and facial expressions, also related with the speech. And then we have the middle part, which is the parietal lobe. It is related with motor. It has motor area and sensory area. It is also related with, it deals with the taste, touch, smell, information, stimuli reception, and also it deals with, it has the one more part, posterior part of cerebrum, that is occipital lobe, which deals with the vision. And then the fourth lobe of cerebrum, that's temporal lobe, it is deals with hearing. These are the four lobes of cerebrum which are responsible for doing these functions. All the four lobes of cerebrum have some association areas. इसके अलावा cerebrum में कुछ association areas होते हैं. These association areas are responsible for memory, thinking, emotions. These are related with these functions, etc. Each lobe of cerebrum has some association areas which are responsible for memory, thinking, emotion, etc. And now we will go to discuss about the next part of forebrain, that is diencephalon. And one more thing which I would like to mention here is that there is a fluid-filled cavity inside this cerebrum, which is called as lateral ventricle. fluid cavity which passes through the cerebrum is called as lateral ventricle. The next part of this forebrain is diencephalon. Just below the cerebrum, here, we have the third region of forebrain, that is diencephalon, which is comprised of hypothalamus and in its side thalamus and epithalamus, which lies on its roof. The diencephalon is the third region of forebrain, which consists of thalamus, hypothalamus and epithalamus. What is the function of this diencephalon? This thalamus, which lies aside of this hypothalamus, is just a relay center. What is this relay center? It relays the information, or we can say message, from medulla to cerebrum. Then we have another part of diencephalon, that is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is responsible. Its function is to control urge of thirst, hunger, and also its important function, one more important function, is thermoregulation, and controls the secretion of hormones. Controls the secretion of hormones by having some neurosecretory cells which secretes hormones to pituitary gland. Then we have the epithalamus. This is not actually a nerve cell. This is the only portion of this part which is not comprised of nerve cells. It is actually a choroid plexus, जिसको हमने पहले ही बताया था, loose connective tissue for the secretion of cerebrospinal fluid. So guys, students, this is the general structure of human brain. I hope यहाँ तक आपको समझ आया होगा, and the next midbrain and hindbrain will be discussed in our next video lecture. Till then, fi aman.